Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Suzerain Rizia. Let's continue on for last left off. So we have just had a lovely time at a wine tasting event where I got extremely drunk. And I maybe told people that I was happy my dad died. But then I lied about saying that I was happy my dad died, but I'm very happy my dad died. Okay, so what's going on in Ziel? As part of the increasing tight security measures, public gatherings of over 50 people are now prohibited in the region of Ziel. While critics see this as a restriction of voices calling for the return of the reason to Rizia, officials have guaranteed Rizia that the measures are merely intended to increase the safety of Rizian and Veznex living in the region. Upgrade military production branch lines. I needed money to do this, huh? Can I? Okay, once again, we're going to load the autosave. Due to the fact that I kind of should have realized that we needed money to upgrade, but I didn't consider it. Now again, this should autosave after the wine event. I mean, we're kind of wasting a little bit of time here, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Okay. We need cash now. Now we could privatize lands. How much land are we privatizing? Private enterprises. This move encourages investment and accelerates economic development, allowing private sector to unlock full potential of these lands. You know what? 3 authority. I'm going to sign it. I'm going to sign. These people are going to be a little bit mad at me, but I want the money so that we can make a strong army. I think that seems reasonable. So, it only costs 1 budget too, and it's -1 energy. I can't afford this, right? Even though I just did it. The King's recently built modern military factories offer a... I mean, it'll get us we'll have 1 energy afterwards. Fine. We'll spend the 1 energy. We're in a dangerous spot for sure, but I'm sure we're fine. What's going on in the news? If you weren't at the Romus Red Uncorking Gala in Kellis last night, do you even exist? For their big bash, winemaking power couple Lord Edward and Lady Safina opened their doors to the royal family, royal council, and the who's who of the Villacres elite. From estate owners and noted wine patron Fabien Toras to heavyweight investor Gustave Montrel. The fabulous night of dancing, hobnobbing, and of course, the sampling of wares ensued. Though, unfortunately, we members of the press were kicked out of the venue before anything juicy could happen. You'll have to just make use of your imagination. His Majesty recently decree marks a daring step towards economic expansion. Inviting private investors to develop select crown lands, this initiative opens up the way for agricultural growth, industrial projects, and commercial ventures, unlocking untapped potential across the kingdom. Carefully managed privatization ensures responsible development that matches national priorities, while simultaneously economic progress within stimulating economic progress. With entrepreneurs already expressing strong interest, the kingdom is on edge of a new era of prosperity. A new business take root and infrastructure expands. This initiative will create jobs, drive innovation, and strengthen our nation's path to economic strength. Okay. Reiterating that he has already pronounced the alliance. Okay. For some reason, I thought this was saying that the arbitration claim already happened. Reiterating what he had already pronounced at the Alliance Nations, Lesbian Prime Minister issued an official statement of support for the Grand Duchy of Palace in the ongoing Eris gas field arbitration case. With the added implication that the fellow ATO members, including Kenel and the Republic of Arcasia, backed Palace's claim as well. He went on to condemn Rizia for his use of a naval blockade during the arbitration process and expressed his hope for a swift resolution to the situation. Okay. The Kingdom of Rumburg has officially announced the Republic of Valen's decision to continue to occupy the Ziel region past the terms of the agreed-upon treaty between Valen and Rizia, said a spokeswoman on behalf of Queen Beatrice yesterday. The condemnation comes as no surprise, given the familial and political bonds between the Kingdom of Rizia and Rumburg. So to say that a number of other monarchies of the Grace organization are preparing similar statements, thereby increasing pressure on Valen to relinquish its hold on Ziel. Further magnifying the pressure on the sanctions placed on Veznex oil by Rumburg and several other Grace countries shortly after the events of the Friendship Day of 1950. We expect that, despite the bravado Smolak has showed at the recent AN session, he'll be forced to find a quick and diplomatic solution to what he claims is a national security issue. Rise of totalist maximism in Xenia. A specter of totalist maximism is sweeping across the Xena continent. Its rise fueled by the decades of upheaval and exploitation. The destabilization wrought by Arcasian interference, the century of revolutions, and Western colonialism left many nations with high unemployment, depleted resources, and industries controlled by foreign settlers, and creating fertile ground for a movement promising renewal and self-sufficiency. Totalist Maximism is exploiting these grievances, channeling resentment into rigid state control, and gaining traction through anti-foreigner and anti-globalist rhetoric. Reports indicate that several nations have already fallen under its influence, with discussions to unify against perceived adversaries, raising the alarms regionally. Intelligence from Kinal suggests Runeberg is covertly supporting these regimes, seeking to expand its influence amid the chaos. As the movement spreads, its militarization, governance, and aggressive rejection of foreign entanglement threatens to destabilize the continent further, leaving neighbor states and the global powers on edge. Now, if I'm not mistaken, totalism is essentially like the fascism of the universe. It's not related to, oh yeah, we read this. It's not related to, Hoi 4, as far as I'm aware. In recent days, the police presence around Havas has noticeably reduced, sparking speculation amongst residents. Some believe that law enforcement is preparing a large-scale operation. Others fear that city security is being neglected. Excuse me. Many leaders have called for transparency, but officials remain tight-lipped, insisting that public safety measures are ongoing. Meanwhile, the streets are unusually quiet, leaving residents uncertain about what to expect next. And our next thing is with Sordland. Is it an event? Investment opportunity. Amidst the recession, Sordland's government, led by Alfonso, has presented a potential lucrative bond sale to be discussed at the capital of Sordland, Haldesord. This royal visit will include the household and additional expenditures. Yeah, sure. I will spend one budget to maybe go talk in Sordland. Okay. The Sheena continent includes many nations bolstering their stance as a formidable opposition to CSP's influence. This informal network encompasses a broad coalition of nations that are aligning their policies and military strategies to counterbalance the CSP's regional ambitions. Yet there still persists a palpable wariness towards the ATO, hinting that a deep-seated desire for greater political autonomy. As Xena positions itself as a counterweight to Maliv's dominance, the continent's geopolitical significance is magnified within global rivalry. Okay. Well, prepare for the host, the king. After we agreed to attend talks in Haldesord regarding a lucrative investment opportunity, the Swordish capital is now hurriedly preparing itself to host our king. Very cool. Our delegation arrived at Haldesord International Airport early in the afternoon. President Albert Alfonso and a contingent of Swordish officials were there to greet us. By the time we reached the base of the Haldesord Tower, the sun had begun to dip lower in the sky, bathing the city in a golden hue. My counselor, Lorenzo Esquel, accompanied me, as did Vina. Our vehicle came to a stop, and President Alfonso stepped towards with a welcoming gesture. Welcome to Haldesord Tower, King Romus. I can't tell you how much I've been looking forward to today. It's an occasion to celebrate the multifaceted economic partnership that we are building between our great nations. We can shake hands, not respectfully. Okay, we'll shake his handshakes. Solid start. President Albert Alfonso's gaze briefly swept across our group before settling on Princess Vina. Princess Vina, it's an honor to welcome you. Mr. Manger and our team are ensuring all your needs are met during your stay. Thank you, President Alfonso. I've studied much about Sordland's recent history, and I can't wait to experience its culture firsthand. Consider us at your service, Your Highness. Should you have any requests or assistance, please don't hesitate to let me know. Okay. Splendid. Some taste Sordland's fine beverages are in order. I don't really see any, splendid. If today's meeting goes like our last did, I assume a taste of Sordland's finest beverages are in order. If Your Majesty desires it, then so it shall be. Although Rizia is already well acquainted with our fine whiskey by now. Kebish, on the other hand, is a local treat, and I warned you, it tastes a bit rustic, but it's got its own special charms. We'll continue this conversation over dinner. The views from the revolving restaurants are nothing less than astonishing. Upon entering the grand lobby of Haldesord Tower, we were directed towards a lavish elevator. The cabin slowly ascended, giving us a momentary sense of detachment from the world below. The cityscape of Halasor became a moving panorama through the glass walls. From the cobbled streets of the old town to the skyscrapers of the Maroon District, the greenery of the capital park to the diversity of New Elroy, the city was seamlessly blend of past and present. It's quite the sight, isn't it? It's always interesting to see Halasor from this perspective, and I hope your first impression of our city is a favorable one. Okay. I mean, I do like a good skyline. I do like a good skyline. You know what? Oh, it is. A perfect blend of history and modernity, just as we're striving to achieve in Rizia. You can't just cling to the past if you want to move forward. But then, forgetting where you came from isn't the answer either. We understand completely. Rizia is in the process of evolving right now, while holding on to what makes it unique as a nation. Our gold, our gas and oil, our wine culture, our monarchy. And unlike a certain Colonel Sol, I and my administration have no intent of erasing Sordland's history. It's essential to remember our common past, especially in the shadow of our current economic situation. The elevator gently halted at the top of Halasor Tower, and the door slid open, revealing the entrance to the revolving restaurant, and Alfonso continued to talk. You read the news, Your Majesty. I won't pretend the Sword's economy hasn't seen a downturn since our last meeting, but the recession of 51 was a direct result of the entrenched systemic issues that we inherited. Thanks to the aggressive economic reforms I'm putting into place, our growth can only skyrocket from here. And it may be a controversial move, but privatizing key sectors and, crucially, attracting foreign investment will position Sordland towards a global, competitive, prosperous, and stable future into the 60s. I have to say, such swift policy changes would be easier to implement in a monarchy like yours. You have no idea how much bureaucracy and obstruction we've been facing. The Rizian government does have check and balances, Mr. President, but yes, such bureaucratic hurdles are practically unheard of under our system. Gush flashed a smile. I'm almost jealous. Been a real pain trying to explain economic growth to the more thick-headed assembly members. Just imagine, Edwald, if Sordland were a monarchy again, we'd be able to push these reforms in a blink of an eye. Alfonso laughed uncomfortably. You know what, our methods may differ, but in the end, both of us share a common goal of bettering our citizens' lives. You're absolutely right, and working more closely together is a key part of that. So, here we are. The restaurant's large windows offered an unobstructed view of Halasor's expanse. The staff guided us towards a large table. A gentle hum of conversation enveloped us as we were seated. Any questions about this magnificent panorama, Your Majesty? I'm happy to offer my insight into the various districts of our fair city. You know, I would love to learn more about Halasor, Mr. President. Can you tell me more about Old Town? It's a lot like your Old Town in Port Drezon. Just newer. The city was founded on the east side of the Escal River in the early 1400s. A start of a key rest and recovery stop for traders, growing significantly during the Renan period. Its architecture, from the Renan days to the Sordish Angolian Union State era, is a mirror of Sordland's history. That's right. The old town got its timeless aura, you know? The tourists can't get enough of it. What about what inspired the development of the Maroon District? Quite a contrast to the old town. That's what our late President Whiskey intended. His initial conception for the district was taken over by President Tarkin Sol after the Civil War. He was renamed to symbolize the rebirth of Household under the Second Republic. It's a blend of modernist and neoclassical architecture reflected in the aspirations Sol held for a progressive Sordland at the time. Got all the fancy buildings, businesses, embassies, everything a modern metropolis would need. Okay. How do you see the evolution of Halasor? I say that it mirrors that of Sordland itself. It's been rebuilding, growing, changing with the times. Just like Sordland, it stands stronger no matter what's thrown at it, even in the face of recent challenges. You know what? Thank you for the explanation. You know, let's proceed. The server came around and poured us a glass of cloudy-looking liquid that I recognize as kibish. It was time for us to make the opening remarks for the bond deal discussion. Okay. You know what? Thank you for your hospitality and kindness that you've shown us thus far, and I'm eager to hear your proposal. We're eager to deliver it. We are keen to know about the current economic situation in the Kingdom of Rizia. Our recent research and inquiries haven't been fully answered. I do know that your treasury has been seeing significant influx in funds lately. Money that sits around is money wasted. Nobody wants that. Not even the Golden Kingdom. Additionally, Rizian energy output seems to be historically low at the moment. We can't do too much about that right now, but perhaps today can be a stepping stone towards a lucrative agreement in that direction. I love if you said we had too much. You know, I am focused on improving the energy situation. Expect us to have a high net surplus soon. You know best, King Romus. I have complete faith in your assessment. There was a pause in discussion as the first course was served. It was a deconstructed version of Lakavian-style Laresha, with a hot seafood stock poured over clams, mussels, and cubed raw salmon. After we had been eating for a few minutes, President Alfonso cleared his throat. So, what we're offering Rizia is a chance to purchase Swordlish government bonds with a 4-year maturity at excellent rates. Despite the recent recession, we're on a path to economic revitalization, thanks to the recent investments being secured by Kinal and Akara, as well as our progressive policy reforms. And as you're already aware, a key aspect of these reforms is the further privatization of crucial sectors, including energy. Gotham is at the forefront of this transformation, and it's poised to play a central role in our recovery. This bond issue is a chance for Rizia not only to make financial gains, but to strengthen its resource-based economy through energy investment into Sordland. We offer discounts that we see eye to eye on this deal. You know what? Your re-election is far from guaranteed, President Alfonso. How can we be so sure that your successor will follow this economic course that you've set? It's a valid question, but our economic policies are designed to withstand political changes. You know, and the landscape in Sordland is ever-changing. And Anton Rain could very well prevail in the next election. And despite this, the bond proposal is built with long-term stability and growth in mind. So far, Rain and I have enjoyed amicable relations, and if he does win the presidency, I'm sure he'll listen to my advice on economic matters. At the very least, he'll listen to Gus. Economic continuity triumphs political shifts, Your Majesty. I can guarantee you that. Okay. You mentioned future benefits for Rizia by signing this deal. Could you elaborate on what these might entail? Gladly. Given my chairman position of Gassom, we could explore investment opportunities in energy. Let's say, preferential access to energy resources and shares, as well as a chance to be part of Gossom's revitalization, which I'm actively steering. Gossam share sales and liberal policies could be game changers. We need to gauge how these shifts will affect the returns of our bonds. By making Gossam more competitive and efficient, we not only are bolstering our economy, but also enhancing the security and potential returns for your investments. If this bond deal and Gossom's plan succeed, it could indeed unlock significant advantages for Rizia. A prime example would be the potential reduction of import taxes on Rizian goods. It sounds promising, but I am still concerned about your elections. Can we be sure that this isn't just a fleeting partnership? We're not looking for a quick fix, but a sustainable connection between Sordland and Rizia, regardless of who leads. Okay, well, given the current recession in Sordland, how can you assure us these investments will bear fruit? We need to review the economic performance indicators and further recovery plans thoroughly. Growth forecasts alone aren't enough. Now, in order for you to play this campaign, you are kind of, it does ask you, like, you're continuing on from your Sordland save. So I wonder if what you did in that campaign will actually affect our bonds. Like, if the fact that we basically fucked the economy last time, if our bonds will actually do poorly due to that fact. That's interesting, and I want to know, so we're going to buy these bonds. As I mentioned, the investment we received from Kinad and Ankara are substantial. Coupled with our reforms, they're projected to significantly boost our economy. You know, this is not mere speculation. Our plans are calculated based on economic principles behind a sound free market strategy. These aren't just hopes and dreams. They're well thought out plans based on hard economic data. We're setting Sordland on a path of robust rebound. You know, your liberal economic policies, your plans to sell shares in Golsum, it's all very ambitious. Golsum's push to raise funds from the global market is likely to have significant impact. But yes, it's not without its risk. I understand that, but with great risk comes great reward. Our new plan is aimed at bolstering markets, confidence, and stability. We will enhance the security and profitability from your initiative. Liberalizing Golsum should increase its market efficiency and shareholder value, boosting fiscal revenues. This should in theory lead to a higher bond yields and a more favorable debt-to-GDP ratio. It's truly a win-win scenario. Okay, well, so far this has all been reassuring to hear, but what are your thoughts, Your Majesty? You know, our nations have already established a mutual trust. There's not much doubt in my mind. Excellent. We too see this bond investment as an extension of our continued partnership. And I'd like to move on to fiscal specifics of our government bonds, focusing on the returns of Rizian guilders. I'll break it down to you. We arrived today with two bond proposals, one large and one small. Based on your current treasury, I'd suggest going with a bigger, better proposal. Invest 12 billion Rizian guilders now, and your returns will be through the roof. If you're talking about a budget increase of upwards of 36 billion guilders over the bond's terms, you'll be tripling your money. That's an ambitious forecast, Mr. Manager. Considering the concept of risk diversification in the economic theory, investing in Sordland bonds could spread your risk, while contributing to our mutual economic benefit. Just took a quick sip from a glass of Sordish wine. Now, considering a more cautious investment of 3 billion Rizian guilders, the potential returns in the case of a successful economic recovery will still be impressive. If our projections are accurate, Rizia could see its investment grow to about 9 billion. Not as much as we invested more, but I mean, it's still 3 times. It's still the same ratio. Like, no matter what, we're tripling. Might also pave the way for deeper economic cooperation should this venture prove successful. Exactly. You've gained a foothold in the Sordland economy. The sky's the limit. A larger investment of our bonds would build up a trust we've already established with our trade and resort deals. We could magnify potential returns to you. A large bond investment does seem like a good way to leverage the momentum that we've built. As the restaurant continued its gentle orbit, our second course arrived. It consisted of an airy sheep cheese mousse between 2 sheets of crisp pastry, garnished with a rainbow of fresh herbs and edible flowers. I think this is supposed to be Sevilla, Your Majesty, a Holosaur specialty, although it's not usually this flowery. He cleared his throat. The question is now, where does Rizia see itself in the future? As a regional power of South Merkopa, or are you aiming at more of a global presence? You know, I want our kingdom to be a global player. Our partnership should expand far beyond our existing ties with Romberg and other monarchies. Alfonso smiled. That's what I want to hear. I know you harbor family ties to Queen Beatrice, but to be frank, strengthening trade with other nations, especially one with dynamic, liberal economies, will be far more beneficial than you than just sticking with Romberg. There may come a time when you don't need grace at all. Vina Hurley made an effort to change the subject. No matter what, we Rizians do see ourselves as an influential force. Our culture, our resources, our strategic position, all of that matters in Merkopa and beyond. Lorenzo smiled at her approvingly. Well said, Your Highness. Yet, as a seasoned diplomat, I must emphasize prudence. Our regional commitments and immediate economic interests should take priority first. Valid thoughts, Mr. Escobel. But progressive capitalism is all about seizing opportunities and being at the forefront of economic innovation. This bond deal is a gateway for such progress. What do you say with opportunity? You know what? I made my decision. How much is a large investment? 4? Fuck it. We will make a large bond investment. Your bold mood, Your Majesty. It signals Rizia's faith in Sordland's economic resurgence. And so begins a new chapter in our relations. And I promise you, your faith will be rewarded. It'll triplicate. Even if the investment doesn't work out, we built a deeper connection between Rizia and Sordland. If I may say so, that alone is a feat. A sense of triumph filled the room as the news of my decision circulated around the table. The third course arrived amid its celebratory atmosphere. It began it appeared to be a take on Bergian Zabla, with a medium rare grilled sliced beef atop a silky chickpea puree. Gus put his fork down in a frustrated groan. I do apologize. This meal was supposed to give you a taste of real Sordland, not some hoity-toity millionaire's idea of it. You know what? Not your fault. Everybody assumes we rolls want the steak and caviar all the time, but truthfully, I'd kill for a giant bowl of soup right now. A man after my own heart. Anyway, Lorenzo reached under the table and pulled out a bottle. This dish would go wonderful with a sip of Romus the Red, a preview of the new Cantovo vintage before it hits the Sordish market. He poured glasses for Alfonso and his minister. Both men gave murmurs of appreciation. Vina turned slightly green as she looked at the bottle. Not for me, thank you. Sordish minister looked pointedly at my own glass of kebish. Aren't you going to try our national drink, Your Majesty? Of course, I've just been so distracted by our stimulating conversation. I took a sip. The liquor burned my throat as it went down. As the final chorus was cleared away, the setting sun cast a warm glow over the table. President Alfonso stood glass in hand and turned to me with an inviting smile. Okay, well, enough of talk. I won't rest until I've seen the Maroon Palace. Of course, Your Majesty. It's time for us to go then. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a beautiful array of colors across the sky, we began preparing to leave. The evening air was crisp and the city lights began to twinkle as we journeyed towards the Moon Palace for the evening party. Okay. Well, before we hit continue, we might as well read the news. The Kingdom of Rizia has committed 12 billion Rizian guilders to purchase 4-year bonds in Sordland, demonstrating robust confidence in Sordland's economic recovery. Financial experts predict potential returns could triple the initial investment, adding 36 billion guilders to Rizia's budget over the bond's term. This investment reflects the kingdom's acumen in international finance and its commitment to strengthening economic ties with Sordland, emphasizing mutual benefits in closer collaboration. In a significant economic development, the Kingdom of Rizia has invested 12 billion Rizian guilders into Sordland's 4-year bonds. This substantial commitment is predicated on a strong belief that Sordland's potential economic rebound is successful. The investment could triple, drastically augmenting Rizia's national budget. Now, again, if this takes into account what we did as Anton Reign, this might end with us losing money, very, very, very easily. Very easily. Mediations. But we're not mediating. The only thing we're mediating right now is between me and you and the end of this video. So if you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not enjoying, give a thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.